This next video is kind of something a little different that I've decided to react to. It's not something comedy related. I am a little hesitant to check this out, not because I think it's going to be super controversial or anything like that, but just because I'm not exactly sure how easy this is going to be to watch. Now, I've seen things, pertaining to this before, but I have never watched this particular interview or discussion. The title of this is called Living with Grief, a Conversation Between Men. It's a 60-minute segment. I think the date of this video is 2014. Like I said, have never seen this before, so I don't know how, I don't know how raw and emotional it's going to be. So I guess we'll see, but I'm curious to check it out. I have talked a lot on my channel about men's issues and blatant sexism towards and about men, and I think this is an interesting topic to check out about grief and how they live with it. So let's just go ahead and dive into it.
60 Minutes Overtime.
Oh, overtime.
Publicly, you haven't spoken about her death.
No, not really. Oh. Maybe it was too early, and you think it's nobody's business, and, But no, it's 5 years. And it's okay. It's okay to talk. It's important to talk,
I wanted very much to have a conversation with Liam about grief, and because it's not something you hear talked about very much.
Okay, I thought that this was going to be a kind of like a round table or just sort of open forum discussion with a bunch of different men. I didn't realize this was going to focus on Liam. It looks to me like, it looks to me like this is a discussion primarily with Liam. That doesn't really change my interest in it at all. I love Liam Neeson. I remember when his wife died. That was what a ridiculously terrible, freak, dumb accident thing. But I went into this with the completely wrong perception. I didn't even remember what the thumbnail showed. I thought the thumbnail just showed some guys sitting around talking. Anyway, okay, let's get back into this.
Have a conversation with Liam about grief. And because it's not something you hear talked about very much. And, it's something everybody will experience at times in their life, dealing with grief, dealing with loss. And I think there's power in hearing how other people have dealt with it. How often do you come up here?
as often as I can. Honestly, I love it up here.
He has a house in upstate New York, and Natasha is very much present in that house. It's where they got married.
And you were married where? Right
just over where the camera is there.
Is that right?
This house is still, it was so much a place where you were together. Is that a comfort or is it hard?
Look, there's a beautiful vibe from this house, and it's still our home, and a lot of our stuff is still here. And
you still have her.
Some people can't. Some people can't bear to be in the same house after a loved one dies. And some people, they get rid of everything, and then some people, they leave stuff around. It's interesting and very touching how different people react to the grief of losing someone that they've loved.
It's still our home, and a lot of our stuff is still here. And,
especially
you still have her clothes.
Long-time partner.
Yeah.
There's no timeline for grief. There's no clock of how long you're supposed to grieve for somebody. It takes many different forms for many different people, and it can go on for an entire lifetime, obviously. Sometimes if there's been a sudden death or a violent death, people end up focusing on the way somebody died as opposed to the way they lived their life.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think a lot about the way she died, or do you think more about...
In the early days I did, yeah. And then you sort of think back, well, she always packed so much into every day, Natasha, that maybe she knew she wasn't destined to be on this earth for a long period of time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I mourned for her, yeah. I visit her grave on a very regular basis. And,
she's buried here on the property?
She's buried close by.
I've only once visited
my dad's grave and my brother's grave
Mhm.
in 20 some odd years, 30
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Does it help?
Does it help?
I guess it
You know,
depends.
I'm not a keen gardener, but I plant daffodils. It gives me something to do, and plant some roses and stuff.
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh. Wow. Just the thought of him doing that, that is so touching. Death is so... It's so terrible. It's a part of life, and it's just like an awful part of life. And for the people that are left behind, just the image of him, this big guy doing something like planting flowers at his wife's grave.
It gives me something to plant some roses and stuff like that.
He certainly felt ready to talk about it. It's not a conversation that I would foist upon anybody, but he said it helps to talk about her. It's good to talk about her.
She and I were like Astaire and Rogers. We had just this wonderful kind of dance, free dance on stage every night, you know.
Natasha wanted Liam to star with her in a revival of Eugene O'Neill's Anna Christie, and a lot of people said that they saw them kind of fall in love on the stage.
Just dreaming I am.
Is there something about grief that surprised you? Or that you didn't expect?
I guess I was surprised with the outpouring of well-being and good wishes that I received from people. Just a wonderful feeling of, yes, this terrible thing has happened, but we're all connected. We're all connected. And people saying, we feel your grief. Or some people would be more explicit and say, I lost my son or I lost my wife. These tragic circumstances. And it was really bolstering. It really was. That did surprise me.
I think often the hardest times after a loss is...
It's interesting that he would say that, and I guess I could see why he would feel that it was bolstering and, kind of just gave him, well, it bolstered him. It's a good word. Sometimes whenever I feel like I'm mourning, or whenever I have a particularly bad day, or I'm in something bad has happened or whatever, sometimes it's weird. I was talking about this the other day with a friend who lost a fur baby. We were talking about the loss of that. No, it's a fur baby, but to people who love their animals, they're like a part of the family. And I was talking about how sometimes when I'm going through something really, really, really hard, and when someone is kind to me, it's like just unexpectedly nice to me, I don't know, that just like drives me to, it just like kills me. Like when my mother had been diagnosed with cancer, and she's okay now, thank God, knock on wood, because you never know with cancer. But when she had been diagnosed, we had just found out, it was that same day we had found out, and she was still in the hospital because she'd had some major surgery. And it was after the surgery that they found out that what was removed, what she had been dealing with, was cancer. We didn't know. It was a complete shock in a lot of ways. And my brother and I were down in the cafeteria, and we were both just really, I guess it showed on our faces. And we weren't outwardly weeping at that particular moment. We had been, but we weren't at that particular moment. And we were getting coffee, because coffee's our thing. And we were at the checkout line. And we were kind of debating about who's going to pay for it. Like I was wanting to pay for it, and he said he would, and I'm like, no, and that sort of thing. It wasn't like we were demanding that the other person pay. We were arguing over who's going to pay, each one of us wanting to pay. And there was a guy in the checkout line, and I can't remember. I think the way the lines was that there was a cashier, and they had two aisles, or not really aisles, but two places, like you could go up on either side of the cashier to pay for your meal. And so we were on one side of the aisle thing, and this gentleman was on the other side, and he saw us, and he just stepped in and he said, I'm going to pay for it. And he paid for it. Now, I don't know if maybe he just did that because he was running short on time and we were holding up things. And maybe that was the reason he did it. You know, it occurred to me later that that might have been why. But at the time, with everything we were going through, I don't know if he could sense something about our demeanor, but with what had been going on that day at the time, that little teeny tiny gesture of kindness it just killed us, you know? I mean, I broke down immediately and started crying and thanked him. And when we were leaving and walking down the hall, then my brother got emotional. Never saw that man again, but I have never forgotten what he did. And I don't know why that came to me just now while I guess because he was talking about the kindness and the outpouring of support that people were giving to him. But it kind of just triggered that memory in me, and I just felt like it was a good time to share it. I've never talked about that particular event on my channel yet. But it's the point I was trying to make is that strengthened him and comforted him. And for me, that almost makes me more sad. Not because I'm sad that people are showing kindness and love, but it's almost like I don't even know how to describe why it makes me more sad. Why it makes me, I don't know. Maybe it's very touching to me how kind people can be at unexpected moments. Maybe I couldn't tell you.
Circumstances, and it was really bolstering. It really was. That did surprise me.
I think often the hardest times after a loss is there is that sense of connection afterward and of joining together, and people come together. But then people start to go about their lives again return to their lives. And when you've lost somebody, and your world is turned upside down.
Right.
And I often wish that sort of sense of connection could remain.
I think it's still there, Anderson. The core group, always there.
His wife's mother, Vanessa Redgrave, has been very involved in raising the boys, according to him.
She kind of moved in with us when Natasha passed away, and she has this incredible lightness of spirit, you know. The kids absolutely adore her.
That must have been rough for her, you know, for a mother to lose her child and then to step up like that and to play this supportive role while she's dealing with her own grief. That must have been rough.
The kids absolutely adore her. And, she's been great. And at the same time, she's like an absolute rock, you know, this foundation stone.
You were saying you're not particularly religious. Did that change at all in the wake of this?
Well, I was certainly looking for answers. So I read a lot of books on religion, and C.S. Lewis especially, and a lot of atheistic books too. So I don't know, Anderson, the jury's out. I mean, I guess I'll be doing that until the day I leave the earth.
You're still covering all your bases.
I'm going to cover every base, yeah. And then when I was doing Taken 2 in Istanbul, the call to prayer, the Muslim call to prayer, starts at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So
it's an extraordinary sound.
Wow. So the first week it was like, second week it was like, oh, it's kind of quite nice. But the third week I was totally captivated by it. Loved it. So then I thought maybe Islam's the answer. So
I don't see any prayer rugs around, so I don't think you've made the leap.
No, I haven't made the big leap yet.
Sure, he's still out.
I'm not sure what they'd think in Ballymena.
That wouldn't get down very well.
That would not.
They'd say, oh, Muslim, are you a Catholic Muslim or a Protestant Muslim? That's what that would be.
Oh, okay. Oh, I turned it off the perfect time. Well, this was interesting. It was a little unexpected, like I said, because I did not know this was going to be about Liam Neeson. I would like to see if they had something like that, like a round table, not real, I don't know if round tables, but like a discussion, just a frank and honest discussion, highlighting men and how they've dealt with the grief of losing a loved one, a close loved one. Like in this case, I'm thinking, significant other. I don't know. I just feel like that would be very interesting and informative to watch. But I don't have much more to add to this other than what I've already seen. This was, I'm glad that I checked it out. I'm going to have to see if there's other interesting things on their channel, maybe to check out for later on, because this is the first time I've ever heard of 60 Minutes Overtime. I guess it's little tiny quick segments or something. Anyway, okay, well, I don't have anything else to add to this, so I'm wrapping it up. Later, guys.